Hello and welcome to another episode of Steel First Speaks. Ignore the small box in the right-hand corner. I am curious about PowerPoint's Rehearse with Coach feature, so we are putting that on for this, and we're going to have a look at the feedback from the analytics bot when I finish talking, and we'll see what it thinks about my episodes. This episode is dedicated to a really big question. At the moment, we are seeing the growth of universes beyond in Magic the Gathering, and of course, I cover Flesh and Blood. The real question, of course, puts to the mind is this a trend for the entire industry, or is this just a trend for Magic the Gathering? So in this, let's explore the idea of whether or not Flesh and Blood should also go to universes beyond its origins. So, what is Universes Beyond? For those people who don't keep up with Magic the Gathering, who aren't familiar with it, it is the expansion of the traditional MTG universe beyond its core IPs that it's previously had, aka the planets and the planes that it used to be on, Dominiara, Kaladesh, etc., to include pop culture like Warhammer 40,000 or Assassin's Creed or Doctor Who. Originally, when it was promised and talked about, it was talked about in terms of what were called Magic the Gathering adjacent universes, so Dungeons and Dragons, Lord of the Rings, essentially. So bringing in those universes that are similar to Dungeons and Dragons, similar to Magic the Gathering in terms of being high fantasy or steampunk, or matching one of the existing planes, but not bringing in strange stuff like SpongeBob SquarePants or My Little Pony or those kind of things. And then some pop culture stuff, but where it wasn't too jarring. So, Secret Lair Walking Dead was just people, humans. There are humans in Magic the Gathering, that's fine. Secret Lair Stranger Things, similar. However, now we have moved on to a dramatic departure from that, where we are starting to see the inclusion of, we'll say, wackier approaches to Universes Beyond, including things like Marvel and SpongeBob SquarePants and who knows what else, Final Fantasy. And also we're seeing a bit of a change in delivery model as well. So rather than being the occasional Secret Lair, which is what it was previously, which is a print-on-demand special edition of cards with different art, which was, there are a lot of them in the year, but it wasn't a significant part of the MTG product cycle. Universes Beyond is now going to be 50% of releases from 2025, and we've already sort of seen that on their calendar. So that is important to understand. So 50% of all Magic the Gathering releases now are going to be Universes Beyond. So moving on then to whether or not it's why MTG is doing it, as this is going to be quite important to Flesh and Blood, right? Why should other games consider going Universes Beyond? The first reason Magic is doing it is to bring in players from non-traditional sources by giving them new expressions of their favourite characters. So you're getting your Marvel and your Final Fantasy fans into the Magic universe who haven't played it previously, and you're selling them their favourite character in a new setting. And that increases their competition, their competitive standpoint versus games like Marvel Snap, versus games like Final Fantasy Trading Card Game, and also just taps them into Final Fantasy. Whenever there's a new game release, they can put out a corresponding Magic set and get involved basically in being another product wing of a very successful franchise. And who knows what else is going to find its way into that environment, right? They're likely not Disney but Star Wars, there is a Star Wars card game made by FFG, but Disney is notorious for following where the money is. And if Magic the Gathering is now willing to do a Star Wars set, then you never know what's going to end up in Universes Beyond. The other thing, of course, is to bring in diverse players who are interested in wide varieties of universes who aren't represented within the traditional high fantasy or steampunk or cyberpunk universes. You want to bring in people who broaden out a bit more, appeal to a younger generation who are playing Fortnite, which does tons of skins, appeal to people who just like different and differing views, who like anime, who like high-tech fantasy, who like Final Fantasy, Marvel, a bit of everything, superheroes, all that kind of stuff. You can appeal to a lot more people than the traditional Magic archetypes. I also think there's an element of design ideas just coming in. Magic has been around for quite a long time now, 25 plus years, so saying what makes a mage in a Magic the Gathering universe, or what makes a lightning dinosaur even, has already been explored. So having fresh concepts, taking a well-loved character and their different incarnations, what colors would Spider-Man be, what abilities would he have, provides fresh design fodder, and also saying something like, what would the difference between Venom Spider-Man or Superior Spider-Man or Ultimate Spider-Man, what would the difference in abilities on all those characters, and how would that play off in the long run, I think is all very interesting as well. And ultimately it does just come down to money. There is investor pressure to grow in MTG consistently, constantly, release new products, make more margin, be more efficient, lay off more people in search of that efficiency. And there is just a load of stuff as well involving, AI art and not having to pay artists, because it's very easy to make AI art of Spider-Man versus making AI art of a wholly new concept character, right? So part of it is them wanting to offload some of their art burden as well, and produce cheaper content that kind of flies off the shelves because people already like it, rather than investing their money into a brand new world. Okay, and I've got a whole video about why specifically this is happening in MTG and why I don't like it, which you can watch on the MTG side of my channel. There's a playlist dedicated to MTG content. But let's talk then about Fab, because this is what this video is about, and why Fab should potentially consider something like Universes Beyond. So the first thing is that, unlike Magic the Gathering, where you're building a board of lots of different creatures, and if you don't have cohesion between creatures and enchantments, then the game can feel a bit weird, right? So if you play like a mechanologist, if you play a giant walking Titan suit next to a bunny with a spear, it does feel kind of strange. If you play, Spider-Man next to I forget the name, that big evil dragon thing, or next to like Chandra, then it's going to feel kind of strange, right? There's weird universe overlap. However, in Flesh and Blood, we don't have that problem, right? Firstly, Wraith itself is already a tapestry of different settings, backgrounds, environments, right? And we're already seeing different archetypes. From the latest set, we have a giant robot, right, who's fighting a ranger with arrows, right? So it's kind of like if you saw, instead of that, it was Azalea fighting, a Gundam or a giant like mech suit from Transformers or something like that, it wouldn't feel as jarring as it probably does in the MTG universe. Also, because of the diverse setting and the diverse roster, hero to hero gameplay and internal consistency is all that really matters. And I've spoken in the past about how, for me, I find it quite jarring because my Earth Runeblade card doesn't play a load of Runeblade cards that are Earth themed. He plays Runeblade cards that are like purple Demonistry themed. But all that really matters is internal consistency within a class or within a feeling. So you could introduce a mech warrior, or someone from like a cyberpunk universe, like a street samurai from Cyberpunk, for example, as one of your warriors, in a guest appearance in Flesh and Blood. And as long as the main warrior class, like Dorinthia, etc., didn't get diluted by that, it would really just be their talent, like cyber talent, for example, that would lend to their aesthetic. And then the rest of the class would just be continuing on. And much like you can now, where you can choose Mechanologist, or you can choose like super evil Shadow Runeblade versus really nature-themed Earth Runeblade, players can kind of choose what vibe they want from what hero, and that really gives them control over what they want to see on their own board, and nothing they come up against is really that jarring on their opponent's board either. Okay, so I think hero-based gameplay means that we don't have that same sort of jarring nature that might come in from the Magic the Gathering universe. The other thing, of course, is that Fab's lore, in sort of general conclusion, has not kept pace with its world, and it still needs to develop that lore, but this, going something like Universes Beyond could buy them a lot of breathing room, where they have these guest sets with established characters that come with their own lore written by another team, or just copying from existing lore, and that really gives those characters an introduction to Wraith, what portal brought them there, what started their isekai adventure, that kind of thing, which kind of removes the pressure to spend a lot of time and money building up your own stable of rich characters, or rather it allows you to diversify your hero base without having to spend the same amount of time investing in each character, if that makes sense. Like, they're still going to say that they're going to build up their own lore, money, and spend energy on that, but they don't have to be the only people doing that, right? Because there can be other effort coming in with well-known characters coming in from different fantasy universes. Also, let's be honest, Fab is still in the stage where it does need growth and mainstream appeal. One of the biggest reasons Magic is going into Universes Beyond is to get those fans of those diverse IPs, and a lot of the IPs that Fab competes against within the fighting genre, and I do put Fab in the fighting game genre because you have a hero and attacks and defense, are IP driven. So you think about all of the Universal system, if you think about One Piece, if you think about what's the other one I was thinking of? I was thinking My Hero Academia, but I think that's Universes. But you've got all those fighting game systems, which are all very IP based. So if you saw a My Hero Academia hero in Fab, I think the Fab actual gameplay style lends itself incredibly well to diverse fighting game appeal, and I think that you could harness that IP and that energy to bring those fighting game characters into the Wraith universe in kind of like a guest match arena style set, where, you know, there's some weird wizardy magic and loads of people from other universes appear in the deathmatch arena, and you have a special Christmas fight-off set or something. I think you could do that and it wouldn't feel hollow, and it would give Fab some more tools to contribute. And also I think the fact is that you could use the Fab battle system to flesh out and to provide a base for any other kind of fighting game. It would work really well. So that would work, and it would make the game more appealing to other people. But there's a lot of reasons not to do it as well. So the first thing, and I covered this kind of in the Magic the Gathering video as well, is there is a risk of an alienation of existing player base. And I think in Fab especially, there is a really big risk of alienation because people quite like the Fab setting and the Fab heroes, and I feel like it would be a bit jarring. I feel like they could pull it off, but I feel like it would be a bit jarring, and I think there is the risk that you would put some people off, though you might get new players alongside that, right? I mean, if you put Luffy from One Piece in Fab with a whole One Piece set, you will get a load of players because the Fab mechanics are fantastic and there is a lot of appeal in IP. But it would lead to a dilution of setting, right? Fab is investing correctly, taking its time to build a special, unique universe, which I appreciate. I find the world is quite interesting. I like how varied and deep it is, and I think that that is something that can be built on for the next, you know, Magic has been going 25 years. Fab could go for 25 years or longer, you know, so I think they have the chance to make something special, and I think diluting it would be a mistake. I also think they might find one of the main reasons not to do it as well, beyond just dilution and because your players wouldn't want it, is just that unfortunately you're not Magic the Gathering and you might not find the best partners. And I think adding a partner that just doesn't really fit or is a bit weird, and I've put up MetaZoo's Hello Kitty set, which they paid a lot of money for and didn't move the needle at all, would just be a mistake. So, you know, you'd have to find the right partners, which would take the right investment. And, you know, you're thinking, who could they partner with? Well, maybe Path of Exile or something like that would work as a partnership, or some, you know, other big game coming out of New Zealand or that area. And also, I mean, arguably, it's just a risk that Fab doesn't need to take. Now, this may be something that people find funny when you're reviewing the video, so feel free to disagree with me. But I would argue that MTG has a lot more pressure on it than Fab to take risks, and I'll explain that. So Fab is succeeding as a small game, right? It's succeeding in terms of player growth, expanding to new markets. Its competitive scene is still popular. It's getting more people. And okay, in some areas, you know, I've heard in some places it is a little stagnant. People are moving on to other games. That's pretty normal. But worldwide, it is growing, and it is growing effectively. And the other thing, of course, is that it's fueled by private investment, and that's a very important fact as well. Being fueled by private investment means that there's A, no outside scrutiny into how much money it makes, and B, if those investors are happy or they've already been paid off, which they might have been because the game did quite well for the first few years, then we could be in a situation where Fab doesn't have the pressure to do non-organic growth, right? It can just grow steadily under its current business model. It doesn't need to take risks to add jeopardy. Now, Steelfur, you say MTG is a massive company, makes hundreds of millions of pounds. Why is that under more pressure to take risks than Fab? And that's because, well, MTG is a public company. MTG has to worry about stock price, and MTG also has the large behemoth of Hasbro, which does not always do as well as some of its subsidiary companies. It's been said for a while that MTG is propping up the bad sales of a lot of products at Hasbro, which are not selling as well. And, Wizards of the Coast is putting a lot of work in to keep Hasbro healthy and the stock price rising. So MTG is under a lot of pressure from the high-ups at Hasbro to deliver more and more money every year, and to increase that stock price every year as well, which is why you're seeing the number of sets ramping, which is why you're seeing Universes Beyond in MTG originally. Fab doesn't have that pressure. Fab's pressures are different. Fab's pressures come from maintaining organic growth, stable growth, keeping the player base happy and committed to the game, and finding new players and recruiting new players slowly. And Fab's pressures as well just come from delivering consistency and delivering quality product year on year. They're still in that stage where product quality, balance, design testing are their most critical features. They can't have too many sets in a row that miss, whereas Magic the Gathering probably could have and has had a few misses this year and still manages to get product out the door because people still buy it. So that's quite interesting. That's why Fab shouldn't do it. So I think there's a lot of reasons for it. I will just say, thanks for watching. Please do remember to like and subscribe. I think this was an interesting discussion. Obviously, I'm not actually advocating that Fab should go to Universes Beyond. I don't even think Magic should go to Universes Beyond. But I think with one big player in the industry doing it, it is worth discussing what that would look like for other games. And I think Flesh and Blood actually could probably handle it a lot easier than Magic could because of the siloing of talents and classes. And if you introduced a new talent for a specific introduction or guest set, like Pirates for One Piece or Cyber for Cyberpunk or something like that, you would actually have a siloed experience that wouldn't be influenced too much in the rest of the game. And also the Fab universe, for its sins, already covers a lot of those core archetypes within its different realms. Metrics is already a bit cyberpunky, so bringing in some people from Cyberpunk 2072 or whatever, 2077 wouldn't matter so much, and there's already a coastline and hints of pirates in there. So if the pirates suddenly turned out to be Straw Hats, again, the game could handle it within its framework and its setting. So that's just something to think about. Let me know what you think in the comments below. If you think this is a terrible idea, you can tell me that too. I don't mind. It's all engagement for the algorithm. Please do like and subscribe. I will talk to you all very, very soon.